Le Mans Ultimate is coming in hot with the new DLC, an update that will finish the 2024 season off. Studio 397 Motorsports Game have provided me an early look at this DLC so I could check it out. A big thank you to all subscribers and members for their continued support. It wouldn't be possible without you. Here's a quick overview of the DLC number 5. It's priced at £9.99, €11.99 or $12.99, and includes 3 pieces of content: the Lusail track, the Lexus RCF GT3, and the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. This is technically the May update, but just fashionably late, arriving now in June. It also includes a couple of features that I can't test at the time of recording: the team management and driver swaps. Once those are live, I'll put out a dedicated video if you are into that, of course, and if you are, press like and subscribe. Let's talk about the changes, because this update didn't come just with the pieces of content. According to Studio 397, this update also includes, besides the team management and the driver swaps, GT3 tire revisions, a shifting for the balance of the car, adjustments to reduce the benefits of sliding, heating tweaks to the tires, and increased steering weight at lower speeds. In plain English, they've shifted the weight more to the front at low speeds to fix that disconnected center feel I've been whining about since December. They've also reduced the slip angle. There's also a new clutch protection feature to stop those wild 6th gear to 160 km/h fuel save launches that you would see the top split doing all the time in order to get like 1 lap over 12. And on the UI front, more changes that I actually enjoy. The top menu's been cleaned up. Now it has access to both your profile and your team profile, which is kind of a nice touch. Now, let's talk about the handling. I've had early access for a few days, and literally every day the handling has changed a little bit with updates. So what I say now might already be outdated by release. That said, the big takeaway that is noticeable between all of these updates that I've been trying was a noticeable reduction in slip angle. That means that the rFactor 2's GT3 driving now feels a little not so much like rFactor 2. If you push past the limit, the car snaps and recovery is way harder. I found myself cranking up TC3 just to keep it manageable in pretty much most cars, including the McLaren, where normally I would run 1 or 2. All Elnium GT3 cars are affected to varying degrees depending on their baseline characteristics. If you have a slippier car that is already slippery in the previous updates, you're gonna feel it way more now. Force feedback now feels slightly heavier at center, not necessarily more detailed, but solid overall change. Also, super interesting, ABS kicks in more aggressively now, especially at higher settings, so your trail trace may need to change, as well as your ABS settings. Driving still isn't radically different, but the changes will definitely require tweaks to your style. For instance, this one is actually a good test, that final sector at Fuji, a bigger pain than before, especially if your tires are already giving out. With the reduced slip angle and ABS tweaks, setups might need to be dialed back to stay stable at the limit. Now, let's talk about the content, the part that you are actually paying for. For Lusail, Studio 397 knocked it out of the park. It is a beautifully built track, but it's about as thrilling as a trip to the proctologist, or if you can compare it to something else, it's Misano on Xanax. It makes Paul Ricard look like Suzuka. It makes Random Call Sign like he has a million subs. No shade to Studio 397, they did, I think, too good of a job, and if you hate the track's character, blame it on the source material. It's like hating Jack Gleason because he nailed the role of Joffrey. Onto the cars, we have Lexus RCF Chen. I'm super happy to see this one at Le Mans Ultimate. It's been my longtime favorite of mine in Assetto Corsa Competizione. While there are some similarities, there are also some very important differences, especially where the traction control is concerned and traction is concerned. Unlike ACC, this version uses a TC3 and the traction logic is definitely unique. it grips really until it doesn't, and the ACC's RCF is a little more forgiving. In stock setup, the RCF feels like a fake safe car. It is planted until you go beyond around 70 or 80% of a grip. Whether it is a steady state corner, a slightly off brake zone, or a sudden direction change, the rear will try to step out. It is fast, but borderline unhinged. I've lost count of how many times I've been mid-corner only for the rear to say nope and toss me into the wall. Also, it has bags of torque, and the traction control doesn't seem to have much control of it coming out of the corner, so throttle discipline is absolutely key. Super fun, super fast, but the default setups might need some tuning from Studio 397, or else these virtual walls are going to start racking up body panels. Future Carl Sign here. Yeah, they changed the physics just a few hours before the launch of this video. Now it's closer to what the DLC 4 was, with just a bit of a tighter tire slip. That means that the Lexus is easier to drive now, and it also means that the ABS is not as overactive and easy to activate as it was before. I'm not too sure how is it going to be for tomorrow at launch. The Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, or the Italian version of the Audi, good to see. This one is actually a pleasant surprise. Being mid-engined, it has some characteristics you know of, but it handles in between the McLaren 720 understeery kind of feeling stock setup and the Ferrari 296 twitchy nature. It's well balanced and relatively easy to push without many major drawbacks that I could see. Well, assuming that the BOP doesn't tank it to prop it up the BMWs. It's definitely a car that I see becoming popular. So, what we have here is the final DLC to complete the 2025 season. At around £3 per piece of content, it's honestly a decent deal. And I can say that Studio 397, even though this is, early access and we're paying for DLCs in early access, but that's another story, has made it a good deal and has been doing so for all the DLCs they have launched since the start. At this point in time, at least with the access that I have, the game feels more or less complete, but still they can't slap a bow on it and call it done, because the core features for proper multi-class racing, after all, you want a multi-class racing in the type of title that has endurance racing, isn't really there and available, like the team and management and driver swaps. So not everything is baked in yet, and they need testing, and for that they need a live audience of guinea pigs or hamsters on wheels, take your pick, to test everything at scale. But like every update, for me at least since December, the paid DLC ends up being the least important part of this update series. The real meat is in the core game challenges. Because remember, you have already got 2 free LMGT3s to access and to race, the Mustang and also the McLaren, so you can access most of the stuff, and you also have some 2024 hypers to do that. And in my opinion, Lusail will only see action when people have no choice to race there. And I think the changes they have been doing since December, they are doing it in ways that make the game practical and easy to use. The performance has increased a lot, the stability has increased a lot, and the game actually is in a good state. But we have to see how these new features actually goes in terms of stability of the game, because we have to remember virtual Le Mans and everything crashed. Hopefully this won't be the case. Will you get this update? Let us know in the comments.